Welcome back, Z-Man fans. Mike and Adam here, and we're tackling 1917. And yes, we are like late to the game. It's been what, Adam? A year and a half, maybe almost 2 years. But I'll tell you, it almost makes it so much sweeter watching a movie, even so late into the game, because it's like everything you heard, the build up over time, and it was all true. Adam, this movie is quite a phenomenon, isn't it?
Honestly, the cinematography is fantastic, and I'll let you talk to that more because you're the big cinematography guy. You do your filming in your own Dead Nightmare series, but I mean, there was not a bad part of this movie, but the camera angles really sold
They
it.
did. I mean, the fact that when you're watching this movie, and most you probably already know this, but it's like you're watching one continuous stream of following these two guys, Lance Corporal Blake and Schofield, as they are making this trip to deliver a message to try and stop a huge infantry group from attacking the Germans. The Germans are fleeing apparently, and the Brits think they have them on the run, but they don't. They're actually going into a trap. It's a trap, Adam. If Admiral Akbar was nearby, he'd be screaming it loud and proud. The cinematography is just insane in this movie, and I mean, it was amazing because I was told that it was just like one continuous shot, which, mind you, I did a little research. Even the director and the cinematographer, they all said it was not actually just one or two continuous shots, even though that's exactly what it looks like. They used different moments to cut the frames, and they were able to stop, one scene and go into another one. But they said some of the scenes could last upwards 8.5 minutes. And that's pretty legit. I mean, you want to talk about knowing your part and the next guy's part and what these guys are doing up there, that's very impressive.
To add to that point, you were saying there was a scene where near the end of the movie where he's running through a field and there are soldiers charging kind of perpendicular to him, and he runs into a couple of them, and the scene is executed so well because there's this sense of desperation in him delivering a message
Yes.
to this colonel to prevent exactly what you were saying, them firing on allegedly retreating Germans who are really just setting up a trap.
Right.
And basically he's one of the two people who get designated to deliver this message. So at the end, as he's getting close, he's running through this field, and like you said, they're just filming, and he hits these soldiers and falls over, and it works so well in the moment. But didn't you say you did some research and that wasn't even the original intention behind the scene?
It's not. I think he was just supposed to get out there and do some running, and it was kind of like one of those where usually they throw the green screen in the back of them, and then they're it's like they're running kind of like in The Mummy with Tom Cruise and stuff, and there's all this craziness happening behind him. But yeah, you see all these explosions going off, and there's troops running like crazy. But he just totally, and then it was on accident, but he just blams right into two of these guys, almost one after the other, and finally gets back to his feet. But it was, like you said, it was so well done, and it just kind of made sense. They kept it in the footage. And so it's kind of neat when things like that just happen to work out. Because I actually watched one of the guys getting back up after he nailed, I think it was like the first one, and I mean, he must have nailed him good, because the dude, I think, was a little bewildered. He kind of got up, he picked up his helmet, he got his gun, and kind of looked for a moment, kind of looking at the guy running away, which was Schofield, and then he started moving back again. I was just like, yeah, he was probably like, what the hell just happened? And are we still filming? Uh, and that's why we always tell my actors, and I tell you guys, you do not cut until I cut. Let me be the one to make the decision, because it might just work out. And I'll tell you, more times than not, it usually does. You're just like, oh, I'm loving this, right?
I mean, that's cool. I was just so tickled that scene was, because I thought that was a really powerful scene, and that was basically, accidental. I thought was a really cool touch. But I mean, like, I think one thing, in terms of cinematography, for me, it wasn't just camera shots, but also like I felt like the music really set the tone as well. I know one of the things you always talk about in your filming, that you're a big fan of good music selection. I think that every scene I thought was enhanced by the music that was played in the background, whether it be when they're first setting out and trying to figure out if the Germans have really retreated, or later on when Schofield actually meets some resistance as he's trying to, kind of move through things on his own. He's going through these crumbled towns. The music always picks things
The
up for
score
me.
was legit, and I was getting little inklings of. So apparently, this director Sam Mendes, he did a lot more movies than I thought that I enjoyed from him. So he did like a Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks. He did Revolutionary Road that had Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio. He did a couple of the Bond movies. I mean, this guy's got a decent resume going, and I was very happy to see that after the fact. I should have caught it much earlier on. Right now, I was just kind of looking here in the pack to see who did the music for this one, if I can catch it quick enough. But yeah, I was getting little hints of like music from like Road to Perdition, those earlier period times. Like I felt like even though it was actiony music, it felt like it still had its own bit of style, for those early 1900s. I just felt it had its own rhythm and movement.
But yeah, it appears that either Mr. Mendez himself, the director of the movie, or the music text that he brings in to do the
Yes.
work, have a style that he goes back to. Kind of like Nolan working with Zimmer all the time, or Tim Burton working with Danny Elfman.
Yep.
I think it, but when it works, right? Just go with it. But no, one thing for me, I know you're the big cinematography guy. I always like characters. I like watching character development, things like that. And the thing that really stood out to me about this movie is I love how, Blake, Lance Corporals Blake and Schofield are, they just kind of haphazardly stumble into this mission.
Right.
And I love how they take the time, just little tidbits to establish that, like Blake is well-meaning but maybe a little bit naive, and like Schofield is kind of a little bit more hardened and a little bit more cynical.
Yes.
And does not glorify war at all. Actually traded one of his ribbons for a bottle of wine. Yeah. And I love watching, like, they establish that those characters are the way they are, and then when things happen to those characters down the road, it's like that is totally in character, and I can see why it would occur. Really enjoyed that interaction.
They both did a wonderful job. The gentleman who plays Lance Corporal Blake is actually the same young man who played Tommen, and like you said, Adam, he had another role in also Game of Thrones, Martin Lannister, right?
That's correct.
And anyway, so that's where he got his start, and he was just a young boy then, but he's definitely grown into quite an established actor. I was really enjoying his performance. Like for a moment, I was like, "Oh, it's the Game of Thrones kid," and then suddenly I was just forgetting that, and I'm just watching this guy really take on this role. And like you said, he's a bit naive, but we find out from the story that he's going to deliver this message to this group. And in fact, his older brother, which is funny because he was in Game of Thrones as well. But anyways, he's a lieutenant in this group, and he will be massacred along with these others if he doesn't get the message. So he has a true incentive to make this mission come to fruition. Schofield, however, like you said, he kind of just gets tossed into it because literally from the beginning they're like, "Hey, yeah, Lance Corporal Blake, pick somebody and then come meet us, in the such and such." And he thought they were just going to go on a food run or do this or that, and to find out you're going on this dire mission where you could easily both be killed, no problemo. And small chance of survival. Not exactly what Schofield wanted to get signed up for. When these things happen, the exciting moments, these very extremely intense moments when something, a big boom or a big something, and they're watching the planes kind of dogfight, and that plane comes over the freaking hill and actually rams into the barn right behind it. When these things happen, I wasn't ready for them, so it was a very exciting moment to see this go down. But to see poor Blake, and as naive as he was, because when he started speaking another language, Adam, immediately I was like, one, that sounds like German, and two, why aren't you guys a little bit more on edge? I'm just saying, not saying it was bad acting. I'm just saying, like, were they just so were they so naive? Yeah, and Schofield goes over for a second, I think, to grab something to help the guy. He turns around to see Blake getting stabbed by this German. And I'm like, because I got to admit, I don't know German or French. I was like, this guy could have easily just been a French soldier, right? Or maybe another fighter pilot from another nearby country. But I wasn't convinced. And to be that close to him, I mean, it's the movie. It's where it was. I'm just saying, personally, I would not have been that close to that dude. I've been like, hey, okay, just keep your distance. Keep your hands where I can see him. We're at war here. This ain't no day in the park.
Yeah. No, it's definitely naive because they watched the dogfight. They saw two of their guys versus one German guy. They saw the German plane get taken down, and they saw the German plane eventually start to kind of
Veer over.
slowly glide toward the ground and end up crashing in the stall area that they were kind of sitting underneath. And it's funny because maybe Schofield is a little naive too, but like
Yeah.
as the pilot's burning up in this plane, Schofield says, "Let's put the guy out of his misery." And it's Blake who says, "No, we got to help him." And so like Blake kind of like directs him to get him out of the plane and everything. And you're right, he's almost kind of done in by his own naivety, because as soon as the German gets a free moment between just him and Blake, he catches him off guard and gives him a pretty good stab wound in the stomach, while Schofield's going off to get water. And unfortunately, that's it. And you don't even realize it at first, because the last time you see Blake, he's fine, and then all of a sudden
He's dead.
And he just keeps bleeding. Schofield can't lift him without Blake getting really pain, and within like 5 minutes on screen, he's gone. It's crazy.
Just like that. And here I'm thinking, this is the young guy, his brother. He's got, there's more to be had. This can't be his journey. It sure as hell was.
Yeah.
It was very shocking. It was very well acted. I felt so bad for him, but when you take chances like that, especially in war, and isn't that, in war is hell? That's the saying, right? And to know that they saved that German, and he still stabbed his ass. Talk about dirty. But anyways, we've definitely honed in on that scene enough. But the whole point, the reason we're talking these things is these were amazing scenes that were so well done, and you feel the passion. That's why Adam and I are talking about it so passionately right now. It really makes you think and feel for those characters. And watching Schofield's journey from there, it didn't end. It just kept going and going, and not just like another obstacle. It's just like, man, these are the things on the battlefield that you could run into. And I was engaged the entire time, running into that sniper that almost took him out as he's crossing that broken down bridge on the river. And in fact, that's the first time where you see a complete cut, because he gets knocked unconscious by this or that or whatever after a bullet almost hits him, and he nails his head really good. And that's when it finally goes to black, and he gets to wake up. And of course, it's still seamless for him, but to us, it was like the first visual cut that we saw in the film, which is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, they did such a great job of hiding those little cuts. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, like, honestly, I love the character interaction. I love how Schofield goes from "why did you bring me to along" to when Blake dies, he like makes it his personal mission to go find his brother. Like, he goes from "why am I here" to "I gotta do this." Like, he all of a sudden, like, it's like it lights. Pardon my French. It's like it lights a fire under his ass all of a sudden.
It does,
and he's just like, "I gotta get there." And you're right, because like not only is that scene great because of how it's shot, but it's really gut wrenching, because he wants so bad to get to this platoon and save them. Yes. And when he gets shot in the helmet, it's daytime and gets knocked out, and then he wakes up and it is pitch black, and you're like, oh my god, how much time has passed? Can he get there in time?
Right.
And then he runs into all kinds of other things along the way. I mean, it's not the only time in the movie he almost dies. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's a crazy ride, and the writers, the director, the music, everything, a perfect compilation, perfect storm, and just to put on top the way it was filmed in these continuous flowing shots, not changing the angle and then changing it back and then changing it back, because that's giving the actors breaks, right? It's giving them chances to, you messed that up, well, do another take. These were just like long takes. Anyways, quite fabulous. And seeing how it finally ended out, and he does not make it technically on time. In fact, he runs into a crew that's like one of the last waves that go through, and he has to start running through all this trench work, the open field where he knocks into those two guys, to make it to this colonel that's way the hell down, down in the line, near the front line. And by the time he gets in there, you got guys stopping him from going in, which, mind you, you don't know who's going into the bunker house, where all the top guys are. It could be a saboteur, who knows what, assassin. But he finally gets in there, and I did not like that colonel's character, which is played by Cumberbatch. I forget his first name. I'm losing it.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Thank you. And he's a great actor, but I didn't like him in this one. But he played his part well. Good for him. But and I won't say the exact word he said, but at one point when he basically says he gets the orders, finally, after him repeating like 4 times that he has to read them. Those are top-down orders. And he decides to call. At first, I thought he wasn't going to call it off, Adam. I got to be honest. Because he kind of paused, and he was just like, give the order to stand down. And mind you, they've already sent one wave. So, and they're trying to get those guys back. It's not like they'll have radios on where it's like, hey guys, turn around. A lot of men probably went to their death. And what he said, though, although I didn't like his character, he wasn't wrong, though, because he said, and next week it'll be attack in the morning and blah blah. It's these wishy-washy orders. It's like, when do I send my men in to die? And so I have to stop for a second, because although I didn't like the way he was treating Schofield, I have to understand at a colonel or a general level, that's got to be hard as hell to stand down when you think you have the jaws, the brink of victory right there, and yet you'll never get it, and you'll never know.
I never really thought about it. That's a good point.
Well, I know you have to stop and think. I didn't think of it myself. So hey, we're always coming up with these deep thoughts here on the Z-Man Show. But that's what was so great about this movie, I think, and I think Adam agrees that there was just so much great dialogue when it was around, the intense scenes when they were there, cinematography, music, and everything else to boot. So we don't really have to keep pressing on this one. It's a great movie. If you have not seen it and you enjoy a good war drama and with some great thriller moments inside, I'm telling you, you've got to go check this one out if you skipped over it. Adam, any other thoughts on this?
No, it exceeds on many levels. I mean, if you're a cinematography person, you're going to like it. If you're an action person, it's got action scenes. If you like watching character development, it's got character development. So it's got a little bit of something for everybody. It's a solid movie, better than solid. It's a great movie. I recommend it.
I would. So let's give a score number, because sometimes we skip over that in all the happiness. But, I was going back and forth on this a little bit, Adam. So as an 8.3 on IMDb, I was kind of thinking about this a bit, but it was a really great movie. Oh God, I know. I hate to get wishy-washy. I was gonna do it an 8.5, but I'm so close to bumping up to a 9. I think it was so well done. Go ahead. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to give it a 9, so you're not going to hurt my feelings if you go there. I'm at 9. I think it was really good.
So there's 2 9s from the Z-Man Bros as they're getting this down. So yeah, it was great, guys. You cannot go wrong with this movie. Check it out. It'll be an awesome ride. So thanks for coming out and watching this deep intellectual talk and thoughts on 1917. But you know what? I like when we get into movies like these, because sometimes it gets you to think, and you get to think afterwards. I was so enveloped in this movie, I didn't have a whole lot of time to think about what else would I have done maybe in that situation, but I was just kind of like, what's going to happen next? And and I'm telling you, the way this thing is shot, you guys, it's going to blow your minds if you're into just movies in general. Even cinematography aside, if you're just into movies, you're going to be like, how do they do this? So check it out. Make sure to come out on Wednesdays. Check out our other content as we're moving forward. We're going to dabble in some other things. We're going to start talking some other Dead Nightmare stuff. My series that's Zombies on YouTube. Check that out. And we'll have some other fun stuff along the way. So this is Mike and Adam with the Z-Man Show. And we will catch you guys at the next review.
See you next time.